The wind cut across the red valley like a blade, dragging grit through the teeth of a dying sun. The rider didn't flinch. He sat tall in the saddle, hat brim pulled low, his horse breathing hard beneath him. The smell of dust and gun oil hung thick. Far off, the town shimmered in the heat. Dust Water, a place too stubborn to die and too mean to live. Cole Hart guided his horse down the empty main street. The wooden signs creaked, the paint long since bled by the sun. One dog barked once, then went quiet. Doors cracked open, eyes followed, whispers trailed in the heat behind him. A stranger. Another ghost looking for work or trouble. He stopped at the saloon. Hinges screamed as he pushed the door open. The room went still. Only the piano in the corner kept playing off-key until the man behind it saw Cole's eyes and froze mid-note. Cole crossed the room. Every boot step echoed like a hammer. The barkeep wiped a glass that didn't need wiping. "Ain't seen you before," he said carefully. Cole's voice was low even. "Ain't been seen before." That drew a few nervous laughs, the kind that end fast. He ordered whiskey, took one slow drink, and asked the question that cracked the silence again. "There a widow out past the valley? 7 young uns? Goes by Ellery." The barkeep's hand stilled. "You don't want to go up there, friend." Wasn't a question. The barkeep sighed, leaning in. "Martha Ellery. Her man's dead. His kin run the land round here like wolves. She's holding on to a ranch don't rightly belong to her no more. Least that's what the Ellery boys say." Cole said nothing. The way he looked down into his drink made the barkeep step back, as if the silence itself might cut him. Outside, the wind picked up again. Cole left a silver coin on the counter and walked out without another word. The sun was sinking when he found the ranch. The fence posts leaned like tired sentries. A few chickens scattered as his horse came up the path. The house stood alone, small, plain, and quiet enough to make a man's heart ache. Children watched from a porch. 7 of them, barefoot and still, eyes hard from seeing too much. Cole dismounted, tying his reins slow and deliberate. A woman stepped out from the doorway. She wore a plain dress, her hair tied back, face pale from worry, not weakness. A shotgun rested in her hands. "You're trespassing," she said. Her voice was steady, but her grip betrayed the tremor underneath. Cole stopped a few yards away. "Just looking for work. Can mend fences, drive cattle. Don't ask much. Don't need no man here." He studied the fence line. Barbed wire broken in 3 places, posts snapped clean. "Looks like you might." Her eyes narrowed. "You a drifter?" "Guess I am. Drifters bring trouble." "Seems you got trouble already." For a long moment, only the wind spoke, dragging dust between them. One of the little girls peeked out from behind her mother's dress, clutching a doll with no face. Cole dropped his hat to his chest. "Ma'am," he said softly, "I don't want nothing but an honest day's work and a roof. Ain't got nowhere else to go." The children whispered to each other, curious now. The oldest boy, maybe 13, said, "Mama, he don't look like no bad man." The woman's jaw tightened. She glanced toward the horizon, toward the town, and then back at the stranger before her. "You can sleep in the barn. Don't touch nothing you shouldn't." Cole nodded once. "Much obliged." That night, the air turned cold. The barn smelled of hay and memory. He laid out his bedroll in a corner, listening to the faint hum of crickets and the shifting boards of the house. Through a gap in the wall, he saw the faint light of a lamp flicker from the kitchen window. A woman's silhouette moved slow and weary inside. He shut his eyes. Sleep didn't come easy. It never did. Somewhere in the dark, a door creaked. Tiny footsteps crossed the barn. He opened his eyes to see the youngest child, no more than 5, standing there with a blanket. "Mama said you might be cold," she whispered. He sat up, surprised. "Tell your mama I'm all right. She said you don't got a family." He paused. The truth caught in his throat. "No, not anymore." The little girl nodded, as if she understood more than a child should, and set the blanket beside him. Then she turned and padded away, her small figure swallowed by the dark. Cole stared at the blanket for a long time before pulling it around his shoulders. Morning brought heat and silence. Cole was already mending the fence before the sun crested the ridge. He worked with a kind of focus that belonged to men who'd known orders once. Each nail struck in rhythm, each movement clean. The children watched him from the porch again. The eldest boy called out, "You ever shoot a gun, mister?" Cole didn't look up. "Once or twice." "You kill anyone?" The hammer froze mid-swing. Martha's voice cut across the yard. "Eli, that's enough." Cole finished the nail, said nothing. By noon, he'd repaired half the fence. Sweat darkened his shirt. Martha brought a jug of water, hesitating before setting it near him. "You were quiet," she said. "Noise don't fix much." She gave a faint smile, the kind that hides behind years of hurt. "You got a name?" "Cole Hart." "Where you from, Mr. Hart?" He looked past her, toward the empty plains. "Don't rightly remember." Something in the way he said it made her stop asking. Late that afternoon, the wind shifted. A horse approached, one rider, then another, then three more. Dust rose behind them like storm clouds. The children ran inside. Martha froze, eyes narrowing toward the road. Cole turned, resting his hands on the fence rail. 5 riders drew near, rifles slung, laughter sharp as barbed wire. Their leader, a thick man with a silver vest and cruel smile, spat in the dirt. "Well, look what we got here," he said. The widow's picked herself, a hired hand. Martha stepped forward. "You're trespassing, Jed Ellery. Get off my land." Jed grinned. "Our land, you mean?" His gaze flicked to Cole. "Who's the mute?" Cole didn't answer. Jed chuckled. "You her new husband, Drifter?" "No." "Good. She don't need another corpse round here." The men laughed. One spat near Martha's boots. Cole's hand twitched near his belt, but he didn't move. Jed leaned closer in his saddle. "You tell your ranch boy to keep outta Ellery business. Next time we ride through, we won't be polite." The riders turned and left in a storm of dust, their laughter echoing down the road. Cole watched them go, eyes cold as iron. Martha turned to him. "I told you, they don't stop till they take everything." Cole met her gaze. "Then we won't stop either." The hammer struck metal, hard and sharp. Cole's arms burned with each swing as he set the new gate in place. Sweat stung his eyes, and the desert air shimmered like hot glass around him. Behind him, children's laughter broke the stillness, quick, fleeting bursts that died whenever they remembered to be afraid again. "Hold it steady," Cole said. The eldest boy, Eli, braced the post. The kid's face was thin, sunburned, but stubborn. "Ain't gonna break this time." "Good," Cole said, driving another nail. "You fix things right once, you don't fix 'em twice." Eli grinned. It was the first real grin Cole had seen from him. From the porch, Martha watched, hands folded, a dish towel hanging forgotten over one arm. The younger children sat near her feet, whispering. Every few minutes, she looked toward the horizon, expecting riders. When Cole straightened, the fence line gleamed new and even. "That'll hold," he muttered. "Maybe," Eli said, "if they don't burn it." Cole looked at him. The boy's voice was too calm. "They've been back since that night." Eli nodded once. "Rode by 2 days ago. Didn't stop. Just watched." Cole said nothing. He reached for his hat, settled it low, and walked toward the well to wash his hands. At supper, the table was quiet except for the sound of spoons on plates. Martha served stew, thin but hot, her movements careful, practiced. "You're welcome to sit, Mr. Hart," she said, not looking at him. "I'll eat outside," he answered. She paused, then sighed. "You've been here near 2 weeks. You can sit like the rest of us." The children smiled faintly as Cole pulled out a chair. The smallest boy passed him a cup with both hands. "Mama says you fixed the roof too." Cole nodded. "Didn't want it fouling on your heads." The little girl beside him whispered, "You sound like Pa used to." Martha froze at that. The air thickened. Cole lowered his spoon and spoke softly. "Ain't trying to be anyone's pa. Just help in where help's needed." Still, the words hung there, heavy as smoke. The next morning, Cole rode into Dustwater for supplies. The town watched him away folks watch a fuse burn. He tied his horse outside the general store, loaded flour and nails into his saddlebag. The barkeep from the saloon stepped out, wiping his hands. "You still at that Ellery place?" Cole didn't answer. "You best mind yourself. Jed Ellery's been telling folks you're squat tin where you don't belong." Cole's voice was quiet. He'd do better tend in his own grave than making mine. The barkeep stared, then backed off. As Cole mounted up, A shadow fell across him, 4 riders down the street. The Ellery brothers. Jed in the lead, Silas to his left, both grinning like men who'd never been told no. "Well, if it ain't the drifter," Jed called. "Heard you're fixing up my brother's house." Cole turned his horse slightly, not answering. "You making yourself comfortable, stranger? You sweet on that widow." Cole said evenly, "You ought to leave her be." Silas laughed. "You talk like you got a claim." "I don't," Cole said, "but she's got 7 reasons for me to care." The street went still. Even the horses pawed the dirt nervously. Jed leaned forward. "You think you can stand up to Ellery blood?" Cole's eyes didn't blink. "Already have." For a second, Jed's grin faltered. Then he spat, wheeled his horse, and said over his shoulder, "Enjoy that ranch, cowboy. You'll be fertilizer under it soon enough." They rode off, dust rising behind them like a curse. That night, the house felt smaller, the walls listening. The children slept, but Martha sat at the kitchen table, a single lamp throwing gold across her tired face. Cole stood in the doorway, hat in hand. "They were in town," he said. "I know." She didn't look up. "They send someone every week. They want me scared. Then they'll get bored waiting," he said. Martha gave a humorless smile. "You don't understand men like them. They don't get bored. They take." He stepped closer. "Not if I'm here." Her eyes rose to his, steady, unreadable. "Why? Why risk your neck for us?" Cole hesitated. The lamp flame flickered between them. "Because I can't stand seeing another family broken apart." She studied him, seeing something behind the silence. The scar on his collarbone, the steady calm in his voice that only men who'd faced worse could have. "You fought," she said. He nodded once. "Long ago." She waited, but he said no more. "Then you know what losing costs," she murmured. "I do." Martha looked down at her hands. "Then you also know you can't win against them." Cole set his hat on the table, slow and deliberate. "Maybe not, but I can make sure they don't win either." Days passed. Cole fixed the corral, cleaned the barn, mended saddles. The children followed him like shadows. He taught Eli how to handle a rifle, not to fight, but to respect it. "Keep it steady," Cole said. "Don't point unless you mean it." Eli aimed at an old fence post, fired. The bullet hit near center. Cole nodded. "You got a good eye." Eli grinned. "You could teach me more." "Maybe," Cole said, "if your ma allows." When they turned, Martha stood at the porch. Her expression was somewhere between pride and fear. That evening, thunder rumbled over Red Hollow. A storm crawled in from the west. The wind carried the smell of rain, and something else. Cole felt it before he saw it. The faint, rhythmic tremor of hooves on hardpan. He walked to the edge of the porch. From the darkness came a single arrow, hissing through the rain. It buried itself in the post beside him, quivering. A scrap of paper fluttered from it, soaked and tearing. He pulled it free, the ink running but the words still legible. "Leave now, or we'll bury you with her husband." He said nothing. Martha stood behind him, silent, her breath uneven. Eli whispered, "Are they coming back?" Cole tucked the note into his pocket. "Not tonight." Then he looked to the horizon, lightning flickering across the ridge. His voice was calm, but it carried iron beneath the quiet. But soon, the thunder rolled closer, swallowing the last light of day. Inside the house, Martha gathered her children close. Cole stayed outside, hat pulled low, watching the storm gather over Red Hollow. Rain hammered the roof like fists. The night was split by thunder, jagged and alive. Cole's hand gripped the rifle barrel tight as lightning flashed, painting the yard in silver and shadow. The dogs were barking, wild, panicked wrong. Then came a glow, orange, low on the horizon at first, then rising. Fire. He was already moving. The barn doors slammed open. Horses screamed inside, eyes rolling white. The smell of kerosene cut through the storm. Thick, sharp, deliberate. "Get the children below," Cole shouted. Martha appeared at the door, hair whipping in the wind, clutching a lantern. "Cole, now!" His voice cracked through the rain like a shot. She turned, calling her children. Small feet thudded across the floorboards. The cellar door creaked open. Cole stepped into the storm, rifle in hand. Flames clawed at the barn roof, sparks spinning like devils in the wind. Beyond the light, he saw them, riders cresting the hill. 6 silhouettes against the lightning. Ellery men. They were whooping and hollering, torches raised. He moved to the corral fence, breath steady despite the pounding in his chest. The first shot cracked the night, a warning round that whined past his head. Cole didn't flinch. He took cover behind a water trough, wiped rain from his eyes, and sighted down his rifle. The second rider charged. Cole squeezed the trigger. Thunder answered. The man dropped. His torch rolled into the mud and hissed out. The others spread wide, circling like wolves. Jed Ellery's voice boomed through the storm. You picked the wrong ghost to fight us, Drifter. Cole's reply was calm, deadly quiet. Ain't the first wrong thing I've done. Lightning cracked again, and in its flash the valley became a battlefield. A bullet tore through the trough. Wood splintered against Cole's arm, cutting deep. He ducked low, moved through the mud toward the barn's far side. Another gunshot, closer this time. He spun, fire blind, and heard a body hit the ground with a wet thud. The rain poured harder, drowning the flames for moments before the fire roared back to life. Smoke rolled over him, thick and choking. A scream tore through it. Eli. Cole ran for the house. The front door slammed open. The boy stood on the porch, rifle clutched in trembling hands. Ma said stay down, but I... Get inside, Cole barked, shoving him back through the door. Through the window, a rider galloped toward the porch. Cole dropped to one knee, aimed and fired. The man flew backward, horse bolting into the dark. Then came Jed. He rode slow through the rain, firelight licking at his silver vest. His grin gleamed under the brim of his hat. You think you can save 'em all, soldier? The word cut through Cole like a blade. Soldier, how long you think you can keep fighting ghosts that ain't yours? Jed sneered. Cole raised his rifle, eyes hard. Long as I have to. They fired at the same time. Jed's bullet grazed Cole's arm. Cole's shot caught Jed's horse in the shoulder, sending it crashing sideways. The outlaw rolled, came up cursing, and fired again. The slug punched through the house's shutter. A child screamed inside. Cole lunged forward, firing once, twice, his rifle steady even as blood soaked through his sleeve. Jed stumbled, hit in the leg, then dove behind a rain barrel. The yard was a storm of flame and smoke. Cole moved through it like a shadow, reloading without thought. The men came at him one after another. He dropped them all. Quick, clean, no hesitation. When the last of them fell, the storm had turned the dirt to blood-colored mud. Only Jed remained, crawling through it, dragging himself toward the porch. He looked up, rain streaking down his face. You ain't no ranch hand, he hissed. You're death wearing a hat. Cole stood over him, rifle aimed. His voice was flat. No, just a man who's seen too much of it. Jed spat blood, sneering. You think this changes anything? The Ellery name don't die. Cole's eyes flicked toward the burning barn, then back to him. Names burn easy. He pulled the trigger. Jed's body went still. Cole staggered, the fight draining from his limbs. He turned toward the house. Martha was on the porch, drenched, holding the youngest child in her arms. Smoke curled through the rain like ghosts refusing to die. Eli stepped out behind her, his small face pale and fierce. Cole holstered his rifle and looked at the boy. You did good. Got them all below. Eli nodded. Yes, sir. Cole gave a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes. Then it's over. But it wasn't, not really. The barn was gone. Half the corral burned to black. The land smelled of ash and gunpowder. Martha came closer, touching his wounded arm. You're bleeding. Been worse. You saved us. Cole looked at her, rain tracing the lines of her face, the firelight catching in her eyes. Just did what needed doing. She held his gaze for a long moment. No one's ever done that for us before. He started to answer, but the words wouldn't come. He just nodded once, then turned toward the horizon where the dawn was fighting through the clouds. The old storyteller's voice rose low and rough, weaving through the hiss of rain and the crackle of dying fire. They say that night the heavens themselves came down on Red Hollow, and the rain washed blood from the dirt while the wind carried away the screams. They say the drifter moved, like smoke through that storm. Not a man, but a memory of war come back to finish what it started. When a sheriff arrived by morning, he found Cole sitting on the porch, rifle across his knees. Smoke drifted from the blackened barn. The lawman dismounted slow, hat in hand. "You do this, Hart." Cole's eyes were far away. "They gave me no choice." The sheriff looked over the bodies. "Guess this valley's finally quiet." Cole said nothing. He stood, wincing as he adjusted his hat. Martha stepped beside him. Her voice was steady now. "What happens next?" The sheriff sighed. "Reckon that's up to him." Cole looked out across the wet, ruined fields, then back at her, at the house, at the children watching from behind the doorway. "You'll need to rebuild." "We will," Martha said softly. "You got strength for it." "So do you," she replied. He didn't answer. He only walked out into the rain, boots sinking in the mud, the rifle slung across his shoulder like a burden he couldn't lay down. The storyteller's voice followed him as he vanished into the mist. The wind beat against the window panes like fists of dust and sorrow. Inside, silence had taken hold, thick, waiting. Cole stood in the doorway, hat in hand, boots muddy from the graveyard. The storm had passed, but its echo still lived in the air. Martha sat by the hearth, hands clasped tight in her lap. The flames painted her face in trembling gold. Behind her, the children huddled close, their eyes following every breath that left the room. The smell of smoke lingered, burned wood, gunpowder, rain. Cole shifted his weight, the floorboard groaning beneath him. "Fence line's near fixed," he said, voice low. "I'll be moving on come morning." Martha's head lifted a little, but she didn't look at him. "You've done enough already." The words hung there, too formal for what they meant, too quiet for the ache beneath them. Then came the whisper of small feet on wood. Eli stepped forward, hat too big for his head, chin trembling but his eyes steady. "Mr. Hart," he said, voice barely more than breath, "we don't want you to go." Cole blinked once, slow. "Ain't no place for me here, son. You got your mama, your kin." "We don't have kin," another voice interrupted. It was Clara this time, the eldest girl. She rose from beside the fire, her dress singed from the night before. Her gaze held his, steady as a grown woman's. "You're all we got left that ain't tried to hurt us." The fire popped, sending sparks across the hearth. Cole turned away, the muscles in his jaw tightening. "You don't know what you're skinned at." But the boy wasn't done. He took another step forward, words tumbling out before fear could catch them. "Please, sir, marry our mother." The room went still. Even a fire seemed to pause. Martha's breath caught. Her chair creaked as she turned, eyes wide. "Eli," he faced her, voice breaking. "He saved us, Ma. He fixed the roof. He built the corral. He made the bad men go away. You said once Pa was a protector. Well, so's he." The other children murmured, one by one, their small voices rising like a prayer. "Please, Mr. Hart, don't leave. Marry Mama." Martha rose to her feet, trembling. "Children, that's enough." But Cole's hand gripped the back of a chair, knuckles white. He didn't speak for a long time. The only sound was the crackle of burning logs and the faint wind through the shutters. When he finally looked at her, his eyes were different, softer, uncertain for the first time since she'd known him. "They don't understand," he said, "what a life like mine costs." Martha's voice was barely a whisper. "Maybe they do more than you think." He shook his head. "A man like me don't settle, Martha. Every time I tried, something followed. Bullets, blood, ghosts that don't stay buried." She stepped closer, her hand brushing his sleeve. "You think I don't know ghosts?" Their eyes met. The air between them burned hotter than the fire. Cole dropped his gaze first. "They'll talk. Folks in town say." "I don't care what they say," she cut in, the steel in her tone quiet but unshakable. "My children sleep through the night now. They laugh again. That's worth more than gossip." Eli's small voice broke through the silence again. "Mr. Hart, we can help build the barn back. You don't have to do it alone." Cole stared at the boy, mud on his cheek, hope shining in his eyes. A memory flickered in him then. Another face, smaller, laughing in sunlight before war turned it all to dust. He closed his eyes, pain and something gentler fighting for place behind them. When he spoke, it was low, raw. You don't know how long I've been riding, son. How far a man's gotta run to stop remembering. Eli looked up, fierce now. Maybe you don't have to run no more. The words hit him like a bullet that didn't kill, only made him remember he could bleed. Martha stepped closer, her hand finding his again, callous skin against worn leather. Cole, she whispered, we're not a skin for a hero, just a man who'll stay. He looked down at her hand, then at her eyes. He saw truth there. No pity, no pleading, just strength, quiet, stubborn, alive. The firelight danced between them. Cole took a slow breath, then set his hat down on the table. The weight of years seemed to lift just a little. He turned to the children. You really think your ma needs another fool under her roof? Laughter broke from them, soft, shy, and real. Martha's tears came silent, hidden by the glow of the fire. Cole reached for his coat, glanced once toward the door, then back to her. Suppose I could stick around till that new barn stand proper. Eli's grin split wide. That mean you'll stay? Cole smiled, the first true smile any of them had seen. Reckon it does for now. The children rushed him, small arms around his waist. He froze a moment, then let himself bend, resting one scarred hand on each small head. Martha turned away, covering her mouth, her shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. Not of sorrow, but of release. Outside, dawn was breaking, thin light pushing through the black. The smoke from Red Hollow rose into the sky, slow and curling, as if it too was ready to drift away. The storyteller's voice rose again, low and sure, like it came from the wind itself. They say the fire took near everything that night, but what it gave was something the land hadn't seen in years. A home built from ash, a promise made not with words, but with the quiet choosing to stay. By midday, the valley was still. Cole stood by the fence, hammer in hand, patching the last break. The children ran through the grass behind him, laughter chasing the sound of nails striking wood. Martha stepped out onto the porch, apron tied, sun in her hair. Dinner's near ready, she called. Cole looked up, wiped his brow, and nodded. Be right in. He watched them a moment longer, those 7 little souls running wild and free, and something eased in his chest, a space long empty now filled. He slid the hammer into his belt, picked up his hat, and started toward the house. Behind him, Red Hollow lay quiet, rebuilt not with timber alone, but with the kind of peace a man only finds when he finally stops running.